Samantha Cortez stared at the glow of her monitor, adjusting the final strokes on a design mock-up for a local client. The small office where she freelanced was quiet at this hour, the kind of late-afternoon lull when emails stopped coming and the sun spilled through the blinds in long, dusty stripes. She leaned back, ready to export the file, when her phone buzzed across the desk. A number she didn't recognize lit the screen. Samantha hesitated. Unknown numbers usually meant spam, surveys, or clients who expected her to work miracles overnight. Still, something nudged her to answer. She swiped to accept and pressed the phone to her ear. "Good afternoon, is this Samantha Cortez?" a calm female voice asked. "Yes, speaking." "My name is Linda from the law office of Valerie Stone in downtown Albuquerque. I'm calling regarding the estate of your grandmother, Mrs. Gloria Hayes. Miss Stone needs to meet with you as soon as possible." Samantha froze, her fingers tightening around the phone. "I'm sorry. My grandmother?" "Yes," the assistant continued. "It concerns her estate. We'll need you to come in with a photo ID. Ms. Stone can explain everything in person." "I think there must be a mistake," Samantha murmured. "My grandmother didn't own anything. She lived in a small rental her entire life." "I understand," Linda replied gently, "but Miss Stone will go over the details. Are you able to come by today? We're open until 6. Samantha heard her own voice answer yes, though she wasn't sure how. When the call ended, she sat motionless for several seconds, the cursor blinking on her unfinished project. Gloria Hayes, estate. None of it made sense. Her grandmother had lived so simply, couponing, mending the same cardigans year after year, refusing to replace her old flip phone even when the buttons wore down. The idea that there was an estate involved felt almost surreal. Samantha saved her work automatically and shut down her computer. Her chest felt tight, not in fear exactly, but in confusion so dense she couldn't sort it. She grabbed her bag, murmured a quick goodbye to the receptionist who barely looked up, and stepped outside into the dry late-day heat. The New Mexico air hit her like a warm sheet as she crossed the parking lot. She unlocked her car, slid in, and just sat there for a moment. What could Valerie Stone possibly want with her? What could Gloria have left behind besides a few photo albums and the old ceramic figurines Samantha boxed up after the funeral? She started the engine and pulled onto the street, the familiar hum of traffic doing nothing to settle her nerves. As she drove toward downtown, the city unfolded around her in burnt orange tones. Stucco buildings, cracked sidewalks, and the long shadows of the Sandia Mountains stretching across the horizon. Unexpectedly, memories surfaced. Gloria's gentle hands guiding hers as a child, her warm laugh, the quiet strength she carried even after losing so much. Samantha blinked hard, unsure why the memories felt sharper now. The law office wasn't far, but the drive felt endless. Confusion mixed with a slow, growing unease. Whatever waited there, whatever this estate meant, Samantha sensed her life was about to shift in a way she couldn't yet understand. When Samantha stepped into the law office of Valerie Stone, the cool air conditioning and faint scent of polished wood felt strangely formal, almost ceremonial. The receptionist directed her to a conference room with glass walls and a view of Central Avenue. Samantha sat stiffly, her hands clasped in her lap, until the door opened and a woman in her mid-50s entered. Composed, sharp-eyed, her gray-streaked hair pulled into a low twist. "Miss Cortez, I'm Valerie Stone. Thank you for coming so quickly." Samantha rose to shake her hand, her pulse unsteady. "I wasn't sure what this was about. Your assistant mentioned my grandmother's estate, but Gloria didn't own anything." Valerie gave a small, understanding nod, then gently placed a thick folder on the table between them. "Let's go through this together," she said. She opened the folder, sliding out a stack of documents neatly clipped and color-tabbed. The first page was a property title, then another, and another. Samantha leaned closer, her breath catching. "Your grandmother," Valerie said calmly, owned 3 residential units in Albuquerque, one in Nob Hill, one in Uptown, and one near Old Town, all fully paid off. Samantha blinked, unsure whether she had heard correctly. No, that can't be. Valerie continued, unfazed by her shock. And this, she said, tapping another document, is the deed to a small cabin just outside Corrales with about 2 acres of land. Samantha's heart thudded painfully. Each paper felt heavier than the last. As if a new version of her grandmother, a woman Samantha never fully knew, was revealing herself line by line. "I don't understand," Samantha whispered. She lived on Social Security. She clipped coupons. She always said she had nothing. She was extremely private, Valerie replied gently. But she was also very disciplined. She invested early, saved quietly, and used a financial advisor who kept her assets separate and discreet. These properties were purchased decades ago when prices were far lower. Samantha tried to steady her breathing. The idea that her grandmother had carried this secret her entire life, never hinting, never boasting, never even suggesting it, hit her harder than the numbers on the page. Valerie withdrew a final envelope from the folder, a smaller one, sealed and marked only with Samantha's name in Gloria's unmistakably neat handwriting. "And this," Valerie said, sliding it toward her, "was left specifically for you. She instructed that you read it alone." Samantha stared at the envelope, her throat tightening. She didn't reach for it yet. She couldn't. The weight of everything else, 3 apartments, a cabin, property taxes, legal phrases she didn't understand, pressed down like a physical force. "There's one more item," Valerie added softly. "A savings account your grandmother contributed to for more than 40 years. The balance is substantial." Samantha's eyes stung. She didn't ask the number. She couldn't make her voice work. Her grandmother had lived like she had nothing, so Samantha could someday have everything. A tremor moved through her, part disbelief, part grief, part something deeper. Samantha finally reached for the envelope, her fingers brushing the familiar handwriting. "Take your time," Valerie said quietly. "Whatever questions you have, after you read this, I'll be here." Samantha nodded, clutching the letter as if it were fragile, sacred, alive. That evening, Samantha sat on the edge of her bed with the envelope resting in her palms. The apartment was quiet except for the low hum of the ceiling fan and the distant traffic drifting through the open window. She had placed the property documents and account statements on her dining table, but this small, cream-colored envelope with her name written in Gloria's careful script, felt heavier than all of it combined. She exhaled slowly and broke the seal. The paper smelled faintly of lavender, the same scent her grandmother used to keep in her dresser drawers. Samantha unfolded the letter, her eyes tracing the delicate handwriting she hadn't seen since those birthday cards Gloria mailed every year. "My dearest Samantha," it began. Almost immediately, her throat tightened. Gloria wrote about her youth, about saving every extra dollar she earned, about buying her first small apartment in Albuquerque long before the city grew and prices rose. She described working 2 jobs at times, clipping coupons not out of poverty but discipline, refusing to spend money she could invest instead. She wrote about the cabin in Corrales, how she bought it as a refuge, a place she hoped Samantha would one day find peace in. But the tone shifted gently, becoming more solemn. "I never told you about any of this," Gloria wrote, "because love can make even the strongest women vulnerable. I have watched you give, and I worry that certain people in your life may take advantage of that giving heart." Samantha's pulse slowed. She read the next lines twice. "I fear Adrian does not understand how to stand beside you as an equal. I fear Marisol sees you as someone to use when convenient. You deserve a life built on respect, not control." The words hit deeper than Samantha expected. Sharp, almost unbearable. She had spent years brushing aside small comments, surrendered dreams, compromises she told herself were normal. Hearing her grandmother name them so plainly felt like a hand gripping her chest. Gloria's voice in the letter grew steadier, almost stern in its tenderness. Independence is not born from wealth, Samantha. It's born from clarity. I leave these properties and savings to you so that you may stand on your own feet if ever the ground beneath you shifts. Do not tell Adrian unless you are certain where his loyalties truly lie. Observe, listen, protect your future. A tear fell onto the page, blurring the ink for a moment. Samantha brushed it away with the back of her hand, but more followed silently. She pressed her fingertips to her eyes, inhaling shakily. She had always believed her marriage was just going through phases, that the dismissive remarks and subtle pressure were temporary stressors. But to see them reflected in Gloria's words, spoken from a place of love, caution, and lived wisdom, made the truth impossible to ignore. When she finished reading, Samantha folded the letter back into its envelope, holding it like something sacred. She lay back on the bed, staring at the dim ceiling fan turning slowly above her. She could already hear Adrian's reaction if he knew. Questions, demands, expectations he wouldn't even try to hide. Gloria had known. Somehow, she had seen everything. Samantha whispered into the stillness, "I won't tell him. Not yet." Her grandmother had given her a gift far beyond the properties, a chance to see clearly, to choose deliberately, to step toward a future she wasn't ready to name but could finally imagine. And for now, she would keep her silence. The letter stayed on Samantha's nightstand long after she changed clothes and turned off the lights, its presence a quiet pulse in the dark. Sleep didn't come easily. Instead, memories surfaced. Slowly at first, then in waves she could no longer push aside. 9 years, nearly a decade with Adrian. She had once believed those years were built on partnership, shared goals, and steady love, but lying there, illuminated only by the faint glow of the street lamp outside, she felt the truth gather around her. Each memory shaded differently now, reshaped by Gloria's words. It began innocently enough. Back then, Adrian had been charming, ambitious, warm in a way that made her feel chosen. When Marisol first lost her job and asked to stay just for a month, Samantha hadn't questioned it. She liked being generous, she liked helping family, but the month turned into 2, then 6, then a year. Eventually, Marisol's toiletries filled the guest bathroom, her shoes lined the entryway, her opinions filled every quiet space in the apartment. Samantha remembered the first time she suggested that maybe it was time Marisol found a place of her own. Adrian had frowned at her like she was being unreasonable, almost cruel. "She's my sister," he had said. "You know she's struggling. Why would you even bring that up?" The guilt she felt then, sharp, overwhelming, had silenced her. And so Marisol stayed and stayed. Samantha rolled onto her side, her fingers tracing the crease of the bedsheet as more memories filtered in, each one carrying its own small sting. How Marisol criticized her clothes, saying things like, "You're too old for that style," or "That color doesn't flatter you, Sam." How Adrian didn't defend her, only shrugged, saying Marisol meant well. How every decision Samantha tried to make, career choices, social events, even what furniture to buy, was inevitably run through Marisol like some unspoken approval process. That job isn't stable enough. That friend is too self-centered. Why waste money on hobbies? They don't really suit you. And Samantha, wanting harmony, wanting love, slowly conceded bit by bit. She stopped going to painting classes, stopped meeting certain friends for weekend lunches, stopped speaking up when things felt unfair. The version of herself she once recognized, bright, curious, quietly determined, had been chipped away in small, almost invisible pieces. She closed her eyes, feeling her chest tighten. Her grandmother had seen it. Somehow, even with only occasional visits and short phone calls, Gloria had recognized what Samantha herself refused to name: control, pressure, emotional erosion disguised as family obligation. Samantha pressed a hand to her forehead, exhaling unsteadily as the truth settled deeper. She had spent years shrinking herself to keep the peace, to keep the marriage intact, to avoid being labeled difficult or ungrateful. 9 years of making the room quieter so others could take up more space. 9 years of losing herself in ways she didn't even realize. She turned her head toward the letter again, the script barely visible in the half-light. Gloria had known, before Samantha ever admitted it, before she understood the cost. Her grandmother had left her not just assets, but a warning, a mirror held up to a life Samantha hadn't dared to examine. And now, with the silence of the night pressing close, she finally saw the truth she had been avoiding. She wasn't just inheriting properties. She was inheriting herself again. The following evening, Samantha returned home later than usual. She had driven aimlessly after work, trying to calm her thoughts, trying to make sense of the sudden shift her life had taken. The sky over Albuquerque was streaked with fading red and purple by the time she pulled into the complex. She climbed the stairs slowly, her bag heavy on her shoulder, her mind even heavier. As she approached the apartment, something made her pause. The door wasn't fully shut. It hung slightly ajar, maybe an inch, just enough for sound to slip through. And from inside, she heard voices. Adrian's low, irritated tone, Marisol's sharp, cutting whisper. Samantha froze. She didn't breathe. She didn't move. She simply listened. "I'm telling you, she's too naive to handle any of this," Marisol said. Valerie Stone called her, so she must have gotten the details today. Adrian exhaled in frustration. "I still can't believe that old woman left her all those properties. 3 apartments, a cabin in Corrales. For what? She barely did anything for Gloria." Samantha's blood ran cold. Marisol scoffed. "Please. Samantha just lucked out. She's gullible. Always has been. That's why this will work." There was a rustle. Adrian pacing, maybe. "We have to make her sell, fast. If she cashes out, that's hundreds of thousands in liquid assets. Enough for the solar project, the investment plan, all of it." "All of it," Marisol echoed. "But we need her to think it's her own idea. Make it about family. Make her feel guilty if she doesn't help." Samantha's heart thudded painfully. She pressed a hand against the wall to steady herself. "And once everything is signed and transferred," Adrian continued, his voice chillingly calm, "I'll file for divorce. Clean break. She won't fight it. She never fights anything." Marisol let out a laugh. Quiet, mean. "Exactly. She'll roll over like always, and you'll finally be free." Adrian added, "And with the assets liquidated, there won't be anything left tied to her. No complicated division." Samantha felt the room tilt. A slow, nauseating wave rose in her stomach. They knew everything. Which meant someone at the attorney's office had talked, or someone had seen her there, or, more likely, Adrian had been watching her closely enough to predict the truth. She forced herself to stay perfectly still, her breath thin and sharp. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she didn't move. She reached slowly into her bag, slipped her phone out and tapped the screen to record. Her thumb trembled, but she held the phone steady near the crack of the door. Inside, the conversation continued. "We just have to be patient," Marisol said. "Play nice. Make her feel appreciated. Once she sells, we get the money and then—" She snapped her fingers. "Done." "Yeah," Adrian agreed. "She'll never see it coming." Samantha's eyes blurred. Her whole body felt cold, though sweat prickled her palms. She listened for another moment, long enough, she hoped, to capture what she needed, then ended the recording quietly. She stepped back from the door, moving silently down the hallway, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Her grandmother had warned her, but nothing could have prepared her for this. They weren't just using her, they were planning to erase her. Samantha barely slept that night. She lay awake in the dim glow of the digital clock, the recorded conversation replaying in her mind until every word felt carved into her ribs. By sunrise, she knew she couldn't face Adrian, not with what she now understood, not with what she had heard. Her hands trembled as she got dressed, but her decision was clear. She needed help. By mid-morning, she sat in her car outside the law office of Valerie Stone, gripping her phone so tightly, her knuckles whitened. She had called ahead, and Valerie had agreed to meet her immediately. When Samantha stepped into the familiar conference room, Valerie closed the door behind them with deliberate care. "Samantha," she said gently, "you sounded distressed on the phone. What happened?" Samantha didn't speak at first. She simply opened her messages, pressed play, and set the phone on the table. The room filled with Adrian's voice, cold, confident, calculating. Marisol's smug tone followed. Together they outlined their plan. Push Samantha to liquidate the properties, get the money under the guise of family projects, then cut her out of their lives through divorce. Valerie listened without interruption, her expression hardening with every passing second. When the recording ended, she leaned back slowly, folding her hands. "I'm very glad you came to me," she said, "and I'm even more glad you recorded that." Samantha swallowed. "What do I do? They think I don't know. They're already planning everything." Valerie's voice shifted into something firm and steady, the tone of someone who had navigated far too many similar storms. "First, you need to understand something clearly. Under New Mexico law, all inherited assets are legally considered separate property. They belong solely to you. Adrian has no claim to the apartments, the cabin, or your grandmother's savings unless you choose to commingle them or transfer ownership. He cannot touch any of it without your consent." Samantha felt a small breath escape her, relief mixed with disbelief. "So he can't force me to sell?" "Absolutely not," Valerie said, "but you must be cautious. People who feel entitled to money often become unpredictable when they realize they can't access it. Your priority now is to protect yourself and the assets." Valerie pulled a notepad toward them, writing a short list in careful, bold strokes. "Here's what you need to do immediately. 1. Open a private bank account in your name only, at a bank Adrian doesn't use. 2. Rent a safe deposit box for all deeds, statements, and your grandmother's letter. 3. Move all property documents, every original copy, out of your apartment. 4. Do not tell Adrian anything. Not about the account, not about the properties, not about the letter. 5. Continue life as usual. No sudden changes, no confrontations. Keep everything exactly as they expected." Samantha nodded, absorbing each step as though they were lifelines. "This is the beginning of your exit strategy," Valerie said gently but firmly. "You will leave on your timeline, not theirs. But for now, silence is protection." Samantha exhaled shakily. The fear hadn't disappeared, but it had shape now, something she could navigate instead of drown in. "Thank you," she whispered. Valerie placed a steadying hand on her arm. "You're not alone in this. We'll do this the right way." And in that quiet room above Central Avenue, Samantha took her first deliberate step out of the life Adrian and Marisol believed they controlled, toward one she would finally claim for herself. For the next several days, Samantha moved through her home as though she were walking across thin ice, carefully, quietly, every sense sharpened. Valerie's instructions echoed in her mind with every step she took. She kept her documents off-site, opened a new private account with cash from her grandmother's savings, and carried the safe deposit key on a thin chain beneath her blouse. Outwardly, nothing changed. Inwardly, everything had. Adrian noticed, but instead of suspicion, he responded with something far worse: warmth. One evening, as Samantha reheated leftovers in the kitchen, Adrian stepped in behind her. Wrapping his arms around her waist the way he used to years ago, his voice softened to a tone she hadn't heard in months. "You know," he said casually, "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we start a family." Samantha's hands froze on the edge of the counter. "A family?" she echoed. "Yeah." He kissed her cheek, too lightly, too carefully. I mean, we're stable now, right? We're in a good place. And maybe it's also time to think about a bigger house, something spacious, modern, something we could really build a future in. Samantha kept her face neutral, but a cold awareness settled in her stomach. He wasn't even trying to hide the script. Bigger house, starting a family, building for the future. Words tailor-made to invoke guilt, obligation, sacrifice. Everything he had always relied on. She turned slowly, forcing a small smile. It's a big step. Exactly, he said brightly. Too brightly. Which is why we need to start planning early. These things take, well, resources. But we'll figure it out. Samantha nodded, saying nothing. Her phone, face down on the counter, was already recording. The next morning, the performance continued. Marisol woke early and cooked an elaborate breakfast. Samantha's favorite, though she had rarely bothered before. The kitchen smelled of cinnamon and roasted peppers, but the sweetness in Marisol's tone was far more cloying. "Samantha, sit, eat," she insisted, pulling out a chair. "You work so hard. You deserve to be taken care of." Samantha sat cautiously. Marisol served her a plate with almost ceremonial delicacy. "You know, Adrian told me you two were talking about the future. Families, houses, all that good stuff." She laughed softly. "I'm so happy for you." Samantha simply murmured, "Thank you." But Marisol wasn't done. "So, have you thought about how you'll fund it all? You know, kids have expenses. Houses have expenses. Life is expensive." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I mean, after everything with your grandmother, I imagine there's a lot to sort through." There it was. The probing, the fishing, the subtle push wrapped in false concern. Samantha lifted her coffee cup, letting the steam hide her expression. "It's still a lot to process," she said calmly. "Not much to say yet." Marisol's smile flickered, just for a second. "Well," she said, recovering quickly, "when you're ready to talk about options, I'm here." Every word sounded like it had been rehearsed in front of a mirror, all day. The sugar coating continued. Adrian sent her affectionate texts. Marisol complimented her hair, her clothes, her cooking, anything and everything. Their voices were sweet, but their eyes were calculating. They believed she was already slipping into their trap. But Samantha no longer lived in their narrative. Each time they spoke, her phone recorded. Each fake smile, each gentle push toward family plans, each conveniently timed conversation about finances. She saved it all, labeling every file. On the outside, she looked unchanged, soft-spoken, cooperative, predictable. On the inside, she was a steel wire pulled taut, and they had no idea. The sweetness didn't last long. Within a week, Marisol's carefully constructed friendliness began to crack, revealing the attitude Samantha knew far too well. It started subtly, small irritations, clipped remarks, but soon returned with full force, like a mask slipping after too many hours of pretending. One morning, Samantha walked into the living room to find Marisol sitting on the couch with her planner open on her lap, her private planner. Samantha froze. "Why are you reading that?" Marisol didn't even flinch. "Relax, I was just looking." She flipped a page casually, as though rifling through someone else's schedule were normal. "You've been really secretive lately. Thought maybe I'd see what's taking up so much of your time." Samantha stepped forward and pulled the planner from her hands. "Ask next time." Marisol scoffed, crossing her arms. "If you don't have anything to hide, why does it matter?" That sentence lingered in the air, sharp, provocative, intentional. Later that afternoon, Marisol accidentally knocked over Samantha's handbag while cleaning, spilling out the contents. When Samantha walked in, Marisol shrugged. "Maybe if you didn't keep so many private things in your purse, I wouldn't be surprised." And that night, she complained loudly to Adrian that Samantha was being paranoid, difficult, and emotionally unstable. It worked. Adrian confronted her before dinner, arms folded, voice tight with irritation. "Sam, this needs to stop. What's going on with you? You've been distant, moody, and secretive. We're supposed to be partners." She kept chopping vegetables, her movement steady. "I'm fine," she said. "You're not fine." He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if speaking to a stubborn child. "If you want to start a family, if you want us to move forward, we need financial transparency, honesty, trust." Samantha didn't look up. "I've always been honest." "Then act like it," he snapped. The following evening, the pressure intensified. Adrian announced they needed a family meeting, a phrase that had always made Samantha feel small. They sat around the dining table, Samantha on one side, Adrian and Marisol on the other, lined up in quiet accusation. Adrian clasped his hands. "Sam, we're worried." Marisol nodded, eyes wide in mock concern. "You've changed. You're distant. You're keeping things from us." Adrian leaned in. "We need to know if something is going on financially. Did your grandmother leave complications? Debts? Documents you can't handle alone? We can help you, if you let us." Samantha watched them silently. Her heartbeat steady. The desperation beneath their questions was unmistakable, an edge of panic wrapped in concern. She kept her voice calm. "I appreciate the concern, but there's nothing to discuss right now." Marisol's expression flickered with frustration. "So you are hiding something?" "I'm sorting through things," Samantha replied, "and when there's something to talk about, I'll let you know." Adrian exhaled sharply, leaning back in his chair. "This isn't healthy, Sam. You're shutting us out." "Maybe," she said softly. "I'm just taking time to think." It wasn't the answer they wanted, and they both knew it. Their carefully crafted patience was wearing thin. Their control over her, once so certain, had begun to slip. And though Samantha kept her face gentle, her voice measured, her posture relaxed, inside she noted every shift, every glance, every tremor of urgency. She gave them nothing, and that was the first time in years she felt truly powerful. Samantha chose the Nob Hill apartment first, not because it was the newest, but because it felt the farthest from her current life. Nestled on a quiet street lined with old-growth trees and colorful stucco homes, the unit had been empty for years. Dust coated the windowsills and the air smelled faintly of forgotten seasons, but the space was hers, entirely hers. She unlocked the door one early Saturday morning, the sun barely rising, and stepped inside with a quiet exhale. The floors creaked beneath her shoes. Light from the narrow balcony filtered across the living room, illuminating the muted amber tones of the walls. It wasn't much yet, but it felt like possibility. For the next several hours, she cleaned the apartment alone, sweeping, airing out the rooms, scrubbing countertops until they gleamed. She replaced old curtains with new ones she bought in cash. She stocked the cabinets with a few groceries. She even set up a mattress in the bedroom, one she ordered online and had delivered to a locker service Adrian didn't know she used. She didn't tell anyone where she was. She didn't answer texts from Marisol asking where she had gone or why she left so early. She kept her location vague, harmless. By the time she returned home that afternoon, her clothes smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and fresh wood polish. Marisol noticed. "That's a new scent," she remarked sharply. "Where were you?" "Running errands," Samantha said calmly. Marisol's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. After that day, Samantha established a new rhythm, one built on quiet, steady preparation. Each morning before work, she slipped a small object into her bag, a piece of jewelry her grandmother left her, a few heirloom books, the framed photograph of Gloria in her garden. Nothing large enough to attract suspicion, nothing that would create an obvious gap on the shelves. Her moves were deliberate, controlled. At night, she packed essentials while Adrian slept, clothes, medication, toiletries. Placing them in airtight bags she hid beneath the false bottom of her suitcase. She backed up important documents to a private cloud storage under a new email address. She cataloged everything she took and everything she left behind, careful not to disturb the appearance of normal life. But the tension in the apartment grew thicker by the day. Adrian became restless, pacing rooms while she cooked dinner, watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. His smiles were tight, brittle, his questions more pointed. "Why are you out so much lately? What are you working on? Is something going on with the estate? Are you talking to someone?" He tried to lace the questions with affection, but the strain beneath them was unmistakable. Marisol was worse. Whenever Samantha walked into a room, Marisol stopped talking. She hovered near Samantha's belongings, cleaning, but her eyes darted to anything resembling paperwork. She lingered by the mail slot. She commented on Samantha's clothes, what she wore leaving the apartment, what she wore returning, what she wore to bed. "You're restless," Marisol said one night, too casually. "People get restless when they're hiding something." Samantha simply smiled, the kind of smile that revealed nothing. But inside, she could feel their control fraying, their confidence shaking, their entitlement rising like a storm. They didn't know what she was preparing. They only knew they were losing their grip. And for the first time in 9 years, Samantha wasn't just reacting. She was planning. The confrontation arrived on a quiet weekday evening, as so many breaking points do, without warning, without ceremony. Samantha had just set a pot of water on the stove when Marisol stormed into the kitchen. Her footsteps were sharp, her expression twisted with a hostility she no longer cared to hide. She positioned herself between Samantha and the doorway, effectively trapping her. "We need to talk," Marisol snapped. Samantha didn't look up from the stove. "I'm cooking. This isn't optional." Marisol stepped closer, her voice rising. "You've been avoiding us, avoiding real conversations, and frankly, we're done being patient." Samantha's hand stayed steady as she reached for a wooden spoon. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. Marisol's eyes gleamed. "Your inheritance." Samantha finally turned to face her. Marisol folded her arms tightly. "It belongs to the family, not just you. We're all struggling, and you're sitting on properties and money you didn't even earn. It's selfish. You need to contribute your inheritance so we can all move forward." Samantha held her gaze, unflinching. "No." Marisol's face reddened. "You owe us. Adrian has carried you for years. I've supported you. We've made sacrifices for you. And this is how you repay us?" Samantha almost laughed. Instead, she lifted the spoon and stirred the pot gently, letting the silence stretch. Adrian entered the room then, drawn by the raised voices. He looked from his sister to his wife, and in a moment that confirmed everything Samantha already knew, he moved to stand beside Marisol. "Sam," he said, anger simmering beneath forced calm, "this behavior isn't acceptable. Marisol's right. We're supposed to be a team. You can't keep secrets from us, especially financial ones. This is about our future, our family." Samantha pressed her lips together, then set the spoon down with deliberate quiet. "This isn't about family," she said. "It's about control." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Don't make this difficult." "You're the one making it difficult," Marisol snapped. "All we're asking is that you be reasonable." "Reasonable," Samantha repeated softly. "You mean obedient?" Marisol stepped forward until she was inches away, her voice low and venomous. "You're being ungrateful. Everything we've done for you, and you're hoarding money while we struggle. You're going to walk away from this marriage with nothing if you keep behaving like this." Samantha felt something settle inside her, an anchor dropping into place. She breathed in, slow and steady. Then she looked directly at both of them and said the line that broke the room open. "I don't owe either of you anything." The silence that followed was instant and electric. Marisol's mouth fell open. Adrian blinked, stunned. Neither spoke, neither moved. They simply stared at Samantha as if they were seeing her for the first time and realizing they no longer recognized the woman who stood before them. Samantha reached past Marisol, turned off the stove, and wiped her hands on a towel with calm finality. Then she stepped around them both and walked out of the kitchen without another word. That night, in the privacy of her car parked outside the Nob Hill apartment, Samantha emailed Valerie the final set of recordings. She uploaded every file, every exchange, every threat disguised as a request. Her exit was no longer a plan, it was in motion. Samantha woke before the sun, the apartment still wrapped in the muted blue of early dawn. Adrian's faint snoring drifted from the bedroom, steady and oblivious. Marisol's door was closed, silence radiating from behind it. For a moment, Samantha stood in the hallway, letting the stillness settle over her like armor. She had rehearsed this moment 100 times in her mind. Now it was real. She placed a small note on the kitchen table. Simple, vague, intentional. I'm staying with a friend for a few days. I need space. Don't call me. I'll reach out when I'm ready. No explanations, no emotional openings, no details they could twist or weaponize. She picked up the last of her packed bags, items she'd hidden carefully over the past week, and stepped out quietly, closing the door with a soft click that felt like the end of a chapter. Outside, the air was cool and still, the sun barely a hint of gold on the horizon. Samantha loaded her bags into the car, slid into the driver's seat, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with adrenaline, with release. She started the engine and drove east toward Nob Hill. The streets were nearly empty at this hour, the neon sign still glowing faintly. When she pulled into the small parking lot behind the apartment building, she felt a surprising surge of calm. She climbed the stairs, unlocked the door, and stepped into the freshly cleaned space that now carried a quiet warmth. Her new life, her new home. She placed her keys on the counter, unpacked a few essentials, and sat on the edge of the mattress she had set up days earlier. Sunlight slowly filtered through the curtains, casting soft amber across the room. For the first time in 9 years, she wasn't living by someone else's expectations. Later that morning, she met with Valerie at the law office. The attorney reviewed Samantha's latest recordings, her timeline, her documentation, everything she had gathered. "You've done everything right," Valerie said, her voice steady with approval. "We file today." And she did. By noon, a formal petition for dissolution of marriage was filed with the Bernalillo County Court, citing emotional abuse, manipulation, and explicit evidence of financial coercion. The attached exhibits included the audio recordings, every calculated word Adrian and Marisol had spoken. That afternoon, Adrian received the papers. Samantha didn't witness it, but she imagined the eruption clearly, the disbelief, the outrage, the frantic call to Marisol, the ranting about betrayal. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, messages, demands, accusations, all escalating in tone. She didn't read a single one. She blocked his number. Then she blocked Marisol's. Silence followed. Beautiful, liberating silence. Samantha stood in her new apartment that evening, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the soft creak of the old wooden floors, the quiet comfort of solitude. She curled up on the mattress with a blanket, letting the calm settle deep inside her chest. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She had simply walked away, on her terms. And for the first time in nearly a decade, Samantha felt safe. 1 year later, Samantha Cortez's life bore almost no resemblance to the one she had lived before. The noise, the tension, the constant scrutiny, gone. The apartment in Nob Hill had become her base, a quiet, sunlit home where she could breathe without fear of being watched or judged. She no longer woke up bracing herself for Marisol's criticism or Adrian's disappointment. Instead, her mornings were slow and gentle. Coffee on the balcony, soft music, silence that felt like silk. In the months after the divorce, Samantha learned that independence wasn't a sudden transformation, but a steady, deliberate rebuilding. She committed herself to understanding the properties Gloria had left her, meeting with a real estate advisor, learning how to manage tenants, maintenance, taxes, and upkeep. The work was surprising at times, but it was empowering. She kept meticulous logs, handled repairs, and even renovated the uptown unit herself with fresh paint and modern fixtures. People now sought her out for advice, an unexpected shift that still made her smile. Most days she worked remotely from her living room, a small desk tucked beneath a window overlooking the street. Her design clients doubled, then tripled. Without the emotional drain of her old life, creativity returned to her like a long-lost friend. She rediscovered her own voice, soft but steady, quiet but strong. But the place that changed her most was the cabin in Corrales. She drove there every weekend, sometimes more often when the world felt too crowded. The cabin stood on 2 acres of dry New Mexico land, framed by tall cottonwoods and the distant silhouette of the Sandia Mountains. The wind there carried a different sound, lighter, unburdened, rustling through the brush in a way that made her chest loosen every time. She planted a small desert garden beside the porch. She sanded the wooden steps and restored the old rocking chair that Gloria had once used. She learned the sound of coyotes at dusk and the way sunlight spilled across the floor at sunrise. She made the cabin hers, piece by piece, not with luxury but with intention. She never sought romance. It wasn't that she feared it. It simply wasn't the season for it. Her heart was still learning what it meant to beat for herself alone. Healing became its own quiet, sacred journey. She took long drives through the Rio Grande Valley, explored farmers' markets, joined a pottery class where no one knew her past. Slowly, gently, she learned to live without shrinking. Sometimes she thought of Adrian, imagined the shock that turned into anger, the anger into desperation, and eventually the desperation into silence. The divorce had been finalized quickly, thanks to the recordings and the clear legal boundary of separate property. He hadn't received a cent. Marisol had disappeared from her life as quickly as she had invaded it. At first, the absence felt strange. Then it felt like relief. Samantha didn't hate them anymore. She didn't love them either. She simply no longer carried the weight of trying to understand their cruelty. The only remnants of that life were the lessons, and the firm resolve never to let anyone treat her like that again. On an early autumn evening, she sat on the porch of the Corrales cabin, wrapped in a soft blanket, a mug of tea warming her hands. The sky stretched wide and endless above her, shifting from orange to deep rose to violet. The New Mexico sunset had always held something sacred, but tonight it felt different, like a benediction. She thought of Gloria then, thought of the woman who had saved in silence, planned in secret, and left Samantha the keys to a future she hadn't known she needed. A future built not on money, but on clarity, resilience, and choice. "Thank you," Samantha whispered into the cooling air. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The last light slid behind the mountains, painting the clouds in gold. Samantha exhaled long and slow, feeling the weight of the past finally lift from her shoulders. She had walked through deception, betrayal, and loss, and now, finally, fully, she was free.